Compulsive gambling. We know what it can mean. It can wreck families. And we've got a new twist now. It's the internet and 165 sites. And it's run away. And people are doing it every day. And millions can be lost. We're going to be talking about this on Community Close Up. We're going to be talking about compulsive gambling with Kevin O'Neill. He's the director of the Council on Compulsive Gambling of New Jersey. And we'll be talking with Tony Millilo. He's the president of the Council on Compulsive Gambling of Pennsylvania. So we've got New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and we've got one number, and it's for both. Anybody can call that number, and you will be treated kindly, and you will be steered to the appropriate counsel, right?
Yes.
This is an extremely frightening something that would not have been there a few years ago. We're talking the internet. And you had a horror story you were beginning to tell me before we went on air.
Yes, there was, and there are many stories like this. They just haven't come forward yet. But we have one young man, 21 years old, who worked at a bank and embezzled $300,000, and every penny. And I have all the records of all the phone calls and the transactions, and it's thick, over $300,000 on the internet. And now this young man is facing federal prison, and will probably go to jail for it. It's just, and that's just one story amongst hundreds. And
more every day, they are playing these games.
They're playing these games. This is new because it's only really started since 1995. So this is the third summer. We've already had a couple of World Series. We've had some Stanley Cup playoffs. We've had the Final Four. We've had a lot of action over the internet.
Something for every taste.
You name it, you got it. Every possible form of gambling that you can do right now, legally or illegally, you can do on the internet, especially lotteries and especially some other illegal sports betting.
Well, you're happy about the lotteries. That you like, the Pennsylvania lottery. Some of that money is going to go to help compulsive gambling programs, am I right?
Well, no, but in the state of Pennsylvania, the state lottery does put our number on the lottery tickets, and in turn, they do support that number and the literature we send out to people. So that's a good thing.
I mean, you don't get any money.
No.
But you're getting that help and that PR, and that's very good for you.
Yes, we're getting that help, and they do pay for the phone calls, and they do pay for literature we send out. So the lottery is stepping up to the responsibility of what the lottery might cause to some of our citizens.
And that's Pennsylvania. I don't think it's so in New Jersey.
Yeah, the New Jersey, the state lottery, which is one of the oldest lotteries in the United States, does not directly fund it. The money comes right from the regular fund in New Jersey, state general revenue.
All right, let's see what's being done. Anything new? Incidentally, that internet thing, what is going to happen? What about the legality? Who's questioning it?
What's happened as of about 4 weeks ago, the Senate, Senator Kyle, senator from Arizona, sponsored a bill, and it's called the Federal Prohibition Act, taken right from the 1930s, alcohol, that outlaws internet gambling. That passed the Senate. It passed, but it has some exemptions. For instance, in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, especially Pennsylvania with horse racing, pari-mutuel wagering, that's exempt. That's exempt because you're going to see pari-mutuel wagering on the internet. So that will not be made illegal. So it's in the House now, the House of Representatives, and we'll see where it goes. What I think will happen is some type of legislation will pass, and in the United States, it will outlaw internet gambling. It doesn't matter whether they outlaw it or not. 70 to 80% of the people who are betting on the internet now worldwide are from the United States. So just 2 months ago, Australia went ahead and legalized internet gambling. They're doing it by territory. So instead of having the smaller Caribbean and offshore countries, you're going to have a country that makes us look like nothing when it comes to gambling, and that's Australia. And you'll be able to bet, and you can now, legally, and it'll be regulated by their government. And as I said, almost any form of gambling you could think of.
I think one of the big problems, Dorie, is that it's a hidden addiction. You don't see it, you don't smell it, you don't taste it. A child can sit on the internet and do it. Families would rather have their child at the internet than out drinking and drugging. And yet, on the internet, it could cause a lot of problems. Families take their kids to the casinos. They take their children to the racetracks. There's a lot of education that needs to be done in order to do some prevention. Parents don't have it. I've seen one parent, I seen this just about a week ago at one of our supermarkets. They had these lottery machines and had a 5-year-old in her, 5 or 6-year-old in her cart, and the child said, "Mommy, Mommy, the machine." And the mother gave the child $1, showed him how to put it in the machine, and helped the child scratch off a ticket. That may sound innocent, and it probably is. But for a percentage of our teenagers, this can become an addiction.
All right, this was a little kid, but the little kid, if you continue to do it, and whatever, we're reading more and more about the teenage problem in gambling. This is relatively new.
Well, kids have been gambling for a while, but what we've seen now is the types of gambling that they're doing. 30 years ago, you didn't have lotteries, so you didn't have kids playing lotteries. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, you can go into any high school or elementary school, and kids will tell you how much they play. Between 60 to 80% of high school students play the lottery, and they're supposed to be over the age 18 or over. So lottery's big. What's also big in the United States is sports betting. Once again, that's an illegal activity for adults. Kids will play it. We had some high-profile cases in New Jersey where the mob was caught in the school with the kids running rings that the kids were doing on their computer. This wasn't internet gambling at the time, but they used taxpayer money, supported computer network, put together a whole program on how to keep track of everything that was bet on the school's computer network. And the teachers and the principals and the administrators didn't have a clue.
But, you know, it still goes back to education. And on Christmas morning, there's not a parent on this earth that would put a bag of cocaine in a 10-year-old stocking. There's not a parent on this earth that will put a bottle of scotch in that stocking. But a grandparent might put a lottery ticket in that stocking. And also what's hot during Christmas is those little handheld casino games, blackjack, poker. Well, these all may be training grounds for that child that has that disposition to become an addict. And gambling is easier for a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old to do than get alcohol and drugs. It's easier for them to gamble. And as Kevin alluded to, if you went to a high school, you'd be hard-pressed to find a child who did not gamble.
You are not a compulsive gambler.
No, I am not. I am a family member of several compulsive gamblers who unfortunately never had the benefit of getting recovery and stopped gambling.
And you are, of course, with the council. They're both nonprofit organizations made up of people who care desperately about this problem. You are a recovering, I believe, compulsive gambler.
Yes, I am.
But your work every day with professionally.
Yeah, I destroyed...
At Belmont.
Yeah, at the Belmont Center right here on State Line Avenue, we have the only inpatient gambling program in the whole state of Pennsylvania. And we've been around about 13 years helping gamblers.
It's a unique program.
Yes, it's one of a kind. And our success rate's pretty high. It's just that people don't know that gambling is a big problem.
Yeah, or it's an addiction. You know,
well, of course,
people don't look at it that way.
It is an addiction.
Yeah.
What kind of research is being done? How much of it comes from the early environment? How much of it comes from the need? I know it's not the money primarily, because you've been on before. You trained us well. It's the action. It's the thrill.
It's the action.
It's the action.
And most of the research that's being done today in terms of new stuff, like the other addictive disorders, what's new is they're looking at genetics. They're looking at brain, biochemistry. However, what we do know through 20 years of research is that if you come from a family, just like alcoholism, but if you come from a family that has a history of gambling problems, you're going to be 30 to 60%, have a higher percentage rate of also having gambling problems. So we know that if you have a family history of alcoholism, you'll have a higher percentage of having gambling problems. We're not sure why that is. I think what they'll find out, it has to do with genetics. You have a history of depression. You keep going up that ladder, higher percentage. And those are the things that Tony sees in the treatment
And if you are depressed, that's what will...
If you are a depressed personality, gambling's a relief. You've never felt so good. It's something that they can feel powerful about. It's something they can feel that they're in control of, and they can not think about their depression.
But that's fine when they're getting ready for the action. But then when it dies on them and they lose, what happens?
Well, gambling itself becomes work, and then coming home, they're more depressed than when they started. There's no doubt about that.
And the way to lift themselves out the next time is to get the action again.
Gambling, and to get more money to do it. And at first it'll be to maybe take paychecks, and then it'll be maybe to sell items from their home, and then it'll be maybe to steal from other people, and it just escalates. And again, we're not talking about the world. We're talking about this window of individuals in our society that become addicted to, because not everybody drinks and becomes an alcoholic.
No.
Yeah.
And gambling per se is not bad.
No.
And we don't, neither one of our organizations is anti-gambling. We certainly don't promote gambling, but we do not say that it's wrong. We know that, and you can look at all types of research. One will say it's 2%, another will say it's 6%. We think it's really about 3 to 5% of the population, adult population, that's going to develop some serious problems that we call compulsive or pathological gambling.
But surely as we talk, if they are compulsive gamblers, they're going to lose everything. Their family, their kids, everything.
There's nothing that's left behind. In fact, the casinos, the bookies, the horse rakes becomes much more important than anything else in their lives. And that chase is, and it is called the chase.
The chase.
What do you do? What's the therapy at Belmont?
Okay, we work on the behavior. We believe that
Behavior modification.
that the gambling is not the problem. That becomes the problem. The depression, as you spoke about, Dorie, that is part of the problem. The thinking is part of the problem. Gambling is a learned behavior. We're not born gambling. So we have to unlearn it and get our lives back into perspective, get our thinking back. I had a young man in my office today who just stole $1,200 from his mother, who's a single parent who doesn't have much money. And he owed the bookie this money, and I said, well, who's more important, your mother or the bookie? And he's a young man, and he said, the bookie. By the time he left...
And I love my mother.
Yes.
Yeah, I love my mother.
But by the time he left my office, he said, my mother. And the bookie comes last. But when he walked in my office, the bookie came first.
Yeah, but he's going to have a lot of work done.
Yes.
He's going to have to put out and discover another way to steer his life. And that all comes with therapy, group, individual,
Whatever that individual
whatever
needs.
your program. It's a very
Including
full
Gamblers
program.
Anonymous.
And then
Anonymous.
after that, Gamblers Anonymous.
Yeah,
That's
because
it.
It's
a
effective.
lifetime. It's a lifetime. Just like Alcoholics or Alcoholics Anonymous, it's a lifetime road to recovery. We had a guy also this morning, a guy that called the 800 Gambler helpline, called from the floor of Atlantic City, because the 800 Gambler number is posted everywhere there. And I asked him, do you want to stop? And he had to think about it. Because I said, how much money do you have left? He still had money left. And what I said to him, you need to leave the casino now and we can help you. He wasn't sure whether he wanted to do that. Now, Tony knows and I know, if he didn't leave the casino, he doesn't have any money left. It'll be gone.
In the past 2 years, I've had 5 individuals between the ages of 20 and 29 who have committed suicide because of gambling. One mother found her child in his car on a Sunday morning after a trip down the shore with a hose hooked up and was dead. One kid jumped in front of a subway, and I sat with his mother and held her hand. It's a serious problem, and the seriousness is the money.
That number, and it's been on the screen, is 1-800-GAMBLER, right?
Yes. That's it.
Just call. They'll steer you. They'll take care of you. We are indebted to you for being here. Thank you so much. And we'd like to hear from you. Won't you drop a line to Community Close Up in care of WB 17, 50th and Winfield in Philadelphia.